Getting big sound out of a small speaker isn't the easiest thing to do. There are exceptions to that statement, of course, but more often than not, small speakers equal small sound. But Aperion Audio's ALLAIRE Bluetooth speakers really impressed me, and I want to talk about that. What's up guys, Brad here. In this video, I'll be taking a look at Aperion Audio's ALLAIRE Bluetooth speakers, both with and without a subwoofer, which will be the Bravus 210D subwoofer, also from Aperion Audio. Now, spoiler alert, these little guys impress me in both looks and sound quality, both with and without a subwoofer. Now, I've actually had both the speakers and sub for longer than I thought I would due to us buying a house and moving and all that fun stuff. So I actually feel pretty bad for taking so long to get a video out on these. But on the flip side though, I have been able to use these speakers and subwoofer for a lot more than a traditional review video I would normally do, where I get to keep a loaner product for maybe 30 to 60 days. So just know that going in, I've had a good 5 months or so with these speakers, and my opinion here is based on my experiences using them during that time. Now, in full disclosure, Aperion Audio was nice enough to lend these speakers and their Bravus 210D subwoofer to me so I can make this review video. But they didn't pay me anything for this video. They didn't ask me to only say nice things about their product, and they honestly have no idea what I'm even going to say in this video. They will be seeing this video for the first time when it goes live on YouTube for everyone, so no preview of this video was given or special treatment was given here either. And also, a quick question, soundbar with a subwoofer or a 2-channel speaker setup with a subwoofer? Let me know what you choose and why in the comments below. Now, I don't normally do unboxing sections for review videos, but I wanted to make an exception here due to all the stuff you get in the box, because that honestly surprised me too, especially at the price point for the ALLAIRE Bluetooth speakers. Starting with the speakers and bypassing the owner's guide, because who reads that? You get a 1 meter optical cable, a 1 meter 3.5 millimeter to left and right RCA cable, a 1 meter 3.5 millimeter audio cable, a pretty hefty aluminum remote that I don't think you'll have to worry about breaking, a 2-prong power cable, and 4 meters of 14 gauge speaker cable with banana plugs attached, so no need to add your own here. You also get magnetic speaker grills, which is something I honestly didn't know I even needed in my life. And then finally the speakers themselves, which do come nicely wrapped and protected. The pure white finish that was sent to me gives off some serious Stormtrooper vibes, and I really dig the look of these, especially after snapping the grills on. Opening up the Bravus 210D subwoofer, and you're greeted with a little goodie box, which I'll touch on in a bit. The subwoofer itself is a bit over 40 pounds, largely due to the dual side-firing 10-inch passive radiators and the single down-firing 10-inch active woofer. Now, the little goodie box contains the owner's guide, a microfiber polishing cloth, a 3-prong power cable, along with both rubber and spiked feet for either hardwood or carpet applications, and footers in case you want to use the spiked feet on your hardwood floors, for instance. Aperion also sent over their 9-foot straight wire Concerto subwoofer cable, which has a single RCA connection on one end and dual RCA connections on the other. This cable is included if you purchase a speaker and subwoofer combo on their website, but can also be purchased separately. I went with the rubber feet as I installed the subwoofer in our living room on a hardwood floor, and I also found that they did a decent job decoupling the subwoofer from the floor as well, even on carpet. Now, each of the passive radiators on the side do have removable grills, which I honestly didn't realize until about a month after I'd received the subwoofer, though I would have really liked to see magnetic grills here, just like on the ALLAIRE speakers. If we take a look around the back of the speakers, the right speaker has a single binding post going to the left speaker, with the left speaker housing the amplifier and all connections including analog and optical inputs, a sub out, which I'll touch on later, a USB charging port for your phone or tablet, and the power cable hookup. Both speakers have rear slotted ports on the back, and on the front, you'll find a 1-inch silk dome tweeter and a 4-inch woven fiberglass woofer. Each speaker can also pump out 50 watts of power and has a frequency response of 60 Hz to 25,000 Hz. On the Bravus 210D subwoofer, you'll find controls for phase, crossover, and volume, along with left and right line inputs, an LFE input, as well as high-level speaker inputs. Pretty standard stuff, but that does mean you can use this subwoofer in a wide range of applications. You do get 500 watts of RMS power here, and per the website, the down-firing woofer has a frequency response of 28 Hz to 350 Hz, while the dual 10-inch passive radiators are rated at 26 Hz to 350 Hz. This is a sealed subwoofer and has a 1-inch internally braced high-density fiberboard enclosure. I'll briefly talk about setup because I don't think anyone will even need a manual for this, save for maybe the Bluetooth connectivity, which even that isn't all that difficult. For simple Bluetooth playback, plug the speaker cable provided into each speaker and then the power cable in as well. Turn on the system with the provided remote and enter into pairing mode, then simply pair to the device of your choosing. It's that simple. Connecting other devices such as the optical output from your TV to the ALLAIREs is plug and play. Just make sure that you're in the correct input mode on the ALLAIREs first. There's no auto switching between sources here. Only auto Bluetooth reconnect if you walk out of range and come back with, say, your phone or tablet. Speaking on sound quality, I'll start by talking about my impressions of using just the ALLAIREs with no subwoofer. Now, my initial impressions revealed that these actually have some really good dynamics when somewhat punchy bass that did still leave me wanting a bit more though. That's not to say that the bass sounds bad or not impressive, just that anything below 60 Hz is definitely lost. Now, these little guys surprisingly did measure down to 60 Hz in my living room, which absolutely lent to that punch I talked about, but just know that these won't really knock your socks off in terms of bass. However, the bass clarity itself was not overblown or unbalanced at all and really showcased just how nuanced these speakers can be in that department. And honestly, for the size of the speaker and the woofer, the bass output still impresses and still wows me due to the size. The mid and high frequencies also sounded very balanced and were never harsh or fatiguing even when pushed to max volume. I also noticed no audible distortion when the system was pushed to max either. Now, my room, however, did pose a problem in that some of the mid frequencies tend to build up and blend together, causing some muddiness in the sound that disappears once you move closer to the speaker. Now, this can be EQ'd out and is less of an issue if the room is, say, acoustically treated, but it's here where I feel the ALLAIREs could really benefit from a simple parametric EQ control via an app, or even simple bass, mid, and treble adjustment buttons on the remote itself to really dial those things in. Now, outside of my room issues, the overall sound quality at this price point without a subwoofer was extremely pleasant, and honestly, these sounded fantastic in any room I put them in while we were packing and moving and stuff. So they definitely get some extra points from me for their size and them being somewhat portable. Like I mentioned earlier, hooking up a subwoofer to the ALLAIREs will provide you with some extra low-end extension. How much will obviously depend on the subwoofer you hook up. Connecting Aperion Audio's own Bravus 210D subwoofer, a few things need to be addressed before we can get things sounding good. First thing, the ALLAIRE's subwoofer output sends out a full range signal to the subwoofer and has no built-in crossover or low-pass filter at all, which means things are slightly more complicated and not simply plug and play. Now, due to this, coming from the subwoofer output on the ALLAIREs and using the LFE input on a subwoofer isn't recommended at all. You'll want to use the line-in inputs on your subwoofer to take advantage of the crossover control on your sub, since no crossover will be applied otherwise. Now, you can choose only to use one line input. However, I noticed and Aperion themselves recommended using a single RCA to dual RCA cable, as it will give you a bit more subwoofer gain to work with and you won't have to bring up the subwoofer volume as much. Now, personally, as someone who relies on things like Room EQ Wizard to help in getting the subwoofer and speakers playing nicely together, I found I had a really difficult time getting a decent frequency response at and around where the ALLAIREs drop off at 60 Hz or so, and where the Bravus subwoofer would pick up and play at those lower registers. I would always end up with some type of null or phase cancellation here, regardless of how much I fiddled with both the phase and crossover control. Though keep in mind, this can and will vary from room to room. You may get perfect frequency response in your room, whereas I just wasn't so lucky. I also think most people probably won't go to this extent when setting this stuff up and will set things up by ear and to taste. And in all honesty and reality, unless they're really bad and affect a large range of frequencies, nulls and frequency cancellations can be really hard to hear by ear anyway. So after getting things dialed in the best I could, the speakers sounded as good as they did prior to using the subwoofer, but now there was much more low end to be had, which really did expand the dynamic range. There was still that same punchy low end from the ALLAIREs, but now there was an oftentimes guttural punch to the low end that just wasn't there before. Kick drums, bass lines, and really deep vocals were complemented nicely by the addition of the Bravus 210D subwoofer, with deep, tight bass that had no problem keeping up with the most demanding music and material I threw at it. movies and games were no different, even performing really well during the opening to Blade Runner 2049. Now, will it vibrate every dish and window in the house? Probably not, as it extends down to around 26 Hertz, but it's plenty powerful and the bass is super tight without ever sounding boomy. And just like the ALLAIRE speakers, I couldn't detect any distortion even when I maxed out the volume on the subwoofer. Pretty impressive. So to sum up the pros and cons here, and starting with the pros, the ALLAIRE speakers are small but with big sound. They're somewhat portable, you can stream music to them easily, they have excellent sound quality regardless of input type, and get pretty loud without distortion. They have decent enough low end without a subwoofer, but dynamics will improve if you use one. They're really well built and have a magnetic speaker grill, and they come with pretty much all the cables you'll need to get them up and running in your home. So what about the cons? Well, the only way to control them is through the remote. There are no buttons on the speakers themselves and no app control to speak of. There's no auto input switching or detection. They do get loud but may struggle in larger spaces. The subwoofer output is full range. No ability to adjust EQ, and aptX support is only available on select devices. Now, at the time of this review, the price for the ALLAIRE Bluetooth speakers is $399 US, with 2 different available finishes. The price for the bundle, including the Bravas 210D subwoofer and the Concerto subwoofer cable, is $1,333 US. Now, depending on sale prices, as Aperion does run sales quite often, you may find that it's cheaper to pick things up individually. For instance, at the time of this recording, buying the ALLAIRE's Bravas subwoofer and Concerto subwoofer cable separately costs around $1,180 US, saving you about $150. Even so, pairing $400 speakers with a subwoofer nearly double the price is a big ask for most people. Yes, the sound quality and dynamics are much improved, but it may not be the most budget-friendly option. With all that said, I have been thoroughly impressed by this 1-2 combo punch between the ALLAIRE's and the Bravas 210D subwoofer. The dynamics are great, the overall sound quality is fantastic, and the ability to stream music to them easily is something I'll miss when I send them back. Yes, there are other alternatives to music streaming, and soundbars are surely popular, but because of the size of our living room and vaulted ceilings, most soundbars just sound like crap. And in all honesty, if given the choice between either a soundbar or a 2-channel setup with a subwoofer, well, I'd go for that 2-channel setup with a subwoofer over the soundbar in our living room any day of the week. Now, that's obviously my opinion. It is entirely subjective and also situational, so just keep that in mind and go with what you feel would be best in your situation. Now, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.